What happens when spirit, research, and faith collide? For decades, the world of the paranormal has been divided. Mediums standing apart from investigators, clergy watching from the shadows. But what if the most powerful answers don't come from just one path, but from the union of three? Tonight, for the first time, leaders from the Warren Society, the Holy Sword, and the investigative realm step forward together. They bring stories, they bring warnings, and they bring a message. Ladies and gentlemen, the three pillars are awakening.
I'm not gonna stand here and listen to this baloney. You won't know. He doesn't stand for baloney.
Sounds like a lot of supernatural baloney to me.
Supernatural, perhaps. Baloney, perhaps not.
Good evening, my darklings, and thank you so much for joining us here this evening. Normally a night reserved for the news, but the news tonight is the coming together of three different organizations as one to start to take a new and I think a more impressive look at the world of the paranormal and supernatural. We're going to get to that in just a few moments. I do want to remind you, for those of you in Ohio that always say, Dave, when are you coming to Ohio? You seem to go everywhere else, but never to Ohio. Well, first of all, you're high. I've been to Ohio every year, where I go to ParaPsyCon, just like all the good speakers do. ParaPsyCon is taking place this weekend, May 16th through the 18th. And I would love for you to join me there. I'll be there with John Zaffis, Dustin Perry, Aaron Sagers. Oh, gosh, it is a huge group of people. Brian Cano is going to be there, Heather Taddy, even Shane Pittman. I know it's hard to believe that I'll be somewhere with Shane Pittman from the Holzer Files and 28 Days Haunted, but you know what they say, me and my shadow. We will both be there. Satori and Cody Ray are going to be there, the Paranormal Couple and the Paranormal Couple Museum. We also have the Tennessee Wraith Chasers, Mike Ricksecker, and so many more fantastic speakers for a weekend filled with enlightening conversations, insights, and paranormal investigations of the Ohio State Reformatory, Mansfield Reformatory. You got to come on out. If you have not had a chance to come there yet, you should be there. This is going to be an amazing time. I think this is like my fourth or fifth year in a row, and I can't wait to get back out there and see and meet so many of you. So you can find more information about that at darknessevents.com. Tonight, as I stated, we have an interesting show, and we've got a lot of interesting people that are going to join us on this program. So bear with us, because I think this might be our largest group that we've ever brought together at one time. Let us begin with one of the coordinators, one of the people running the event ParaPsyCon this weekend. She is Kathy Feketik. And did I nail it that time, Kathy?
You got it.
Yeah.
It was close.
Yeah, I was so close. Kathy, and I'm excited to have you on the show and talk about what you guys have been working on here. And this is pretty compelling. We wanted to get you guys on the show before this weekend because this will be part of ParaPsyCon, and there will be speakers there talking about the three pillars and the coming together of these three ideologies, correct?
That is correct. Yes.
Very cool. And Kathy, for people that might not know who you are, give a little background if you could, and what your tie is to Ohio State Reformatory.
Oh, absolutely. Well, my name is Kathy. No, my name is.
You said that wrong.
My name is Kathy Feketik, and I've been investigating for over 20 years, along with my husband Greg. And Greg and I are actually the co-organizers for the ParaPsyCon that is held at the Ohio State Reformatory, where you'll be this weekend, Dave. And we appreciate you coming as many years as you have. You're a great guest to have there, and a lot of people love and come to see you. But anyways, about me, my relation to the Ohio State Reformatory is that I am the paranormal program manager. However, I actually started investigating OSR in 2004, became a volunteer in 2013, became the paranormal assistant in 2020. And when I retired, the position for the paranormal program manager opened up, and I decided not to retire and applied for the job. And that's what I'm doing now. I have the best retirement job ever.
Yeah, I agree. And it is always a
Mhm.
pleasure to have you stop by. Let's introduce the next guest, without whom this interview and this opportunity would not be happening, because she has been relentless, Kathy. She won't leave me alone. Phone calls, texts, carrier pigeons, smoke signals. She, I think, is stalking my every form of communication, but she got through to me. Finally, we're able to get her here together. And joining us now is Stacia Wills. Stacia, welcome to the program. Thanks for
Thank
being here.
you. It's a pleasure. Thank you for having us.
Oh, it's great to have you here. And introduce yourself a little bit to the audience as well, so we know who you are and why you're here for this evening.
Well, my name is Stacia, and I had a vision over 2 decades ago, and I followed that vision. And I am a natural born shaman. My grandparents come from the Carpathian Mountains. We're known as the Rusins. The whole family is gifted, which makes everything very interesting. I just happen to be the extremely creepy one. I do connect to the, yes, either the family loves me or hates me. So, but with that, I connect to ancestors, and I had an occupational health and safety company, which I think the universe gave me work in the power plants because I really got to read people on an extensive level. And I just followed the vision, and it brought me here, brought me with amazing people. So people come to me and I connect with their ancestors, and I can see what the trauma is and what needs fixed. I deal with the familiar demons. And then from there, we have an amazing team of psychiatrists, therapists, energy healers, hypnotists, dietitians, yoga, yogis. It doesn't matter. It's there, herbalists. And we help put you in the right path to heal. And it comes full circle. We also have Dave Giuliano, and we have Greg Feketik. We also teach you how to properly investigate, because a lot of people who do investigation are honestly chasing their demons. They're looking for their loved ones, they're chasing their demons. We're helping fix the demons and then how to investigate properly.
Fantastic. Now, you are part of the organization, and help me say this right, Wardruna?
Correct, Wardruna.
Okay. Talk to me a little bit about that, because each group of people we're going to bring on tonight are coming from a different element. So talk to me a little bit about what Wardruna is.
What Wardruna does, it is a Ukrainian word, means keeper, the secret, she who whispers. And like I said, we have a group of mediums and shamans. People are seeking for answers. They're looking to connect to their loved ones. When they sit down, I get all the answers. And I always say the dead are here to fix the shit they created. So they start talking on the other side of what has happened. And I can look into somebody's eyes. I see the PTSD. I can see the cycling, and I will write an assessment and ship them straight over to a therapist or a psychiatrist for the help. Sometimes bad habits are created. We need, hypnotherapy. So sometimes we need a dietitian. This is honestly where Wardruna is here to make your life better. Also, as you're raising your spirit, your gifts also start opening up, which then they come back to the shamans where we help you understand your gifts. But we
Okay.
just try to make the mind, body, and spirits, better and whole, and to correct all the generational trauma from the past.
All right. Fantastic. Well, joining us now from the Holy Sword, we've got Father Ken Torres. Oh no, I'm sorry. Yes, Father Ken Torres. Right? I've got that proper. My brain is melting.
Yes.
There's a lot of people here I got to bring in, and you are from the Holy Sword, Father Ken. Thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's a privilege. I've been called worse. So, yes, I'm with the Holy Sword Apostolate. I'm the co-director with Father Bob Bailey. Everyone knows who he is, the paranormal padre. And so, for clarity, Father Bob Bailey is the Roman Catholic priest, and I am an Orthodox priest. And so, through our experiences and through our combined collective and that sort of thing, we've merged together. And now the idea is to, help individuals out. A little bit about me. I'm of Puerto Rican descent. I grew up traditionally, my family was Christian, and a lot of Santeria in my family. I retired medically from the Marine Corps. I'm a wounded warrior. I speak Spanish. and I've been involved with a lot of different organizations, Hope for the Warriors, working for the VA. And so my focus is mostly chaplaincy. But more importantly, I'm just proud to be medically retired from the Marine Corps. Stand in the military, the things that I've gone through has led me to a life of service. I got out, I did some government contracting with some agencies, and my purpose was always ministry. And so I'm just really privileged and honored to be here.
All right. And if I could get you to do me a favor, come forward a little bit so that for the remainder of the show, we can hear your voice. You're a little bit more set back from the microphone, and we want to make sure we can hear everybody here. Joining us now from the Warren Society, let's start off with Thomas Patrick Gormley. Thank you so much for being here this evening, Thomas.
How you doing, Dave?
I'm doing well, and I appreciate you being here and being a part of the program with us.
Yeah, got all the peeps here, so this is great.
Right. I like this. I like what's going on. Give us a little bit of your background.
I've been involved in the paranormal for about 40 years, and I think one of my big reasons to be part of the Warren Society is when I was a teenager, I had a chance meeting with Ed and Lorraine Warren, and Lorraine recognized the empath abilities in me. As they developed, I had a calling to be a shaman, just like Stacia, and we've had that relationship for quite a while. But 40 years of spiritual warfare, you name it, seen it, and just want people to learn about the paranormal with education and also doing the research properly. With the Warren Society, I think one of the biggest things is our mission statement. Our mission statement is to restore peace, hope, and faith where fear once reigned. With compassion, courage, and unwavering dedication, we strive to provide practical solutions and steadfast support, guiding those afflicted by the paranormal disturbances and demonic influences towards lasting relief and empowerment. So that's our mission statement with the Warren Society, along with the education and just the research that goes into it. People call us from all over the country with their issues, and with that, we're able to talk them through it, empower them, and determine if the case needs to have us intervene, whether we could teach a team how to intervene on our behalf, or we're flying out to help you. It doesn't matter where you are. I think it's important to keep the Warren legacy and the Warren Society going with the building blocks that Ed and Lorraine started. As we build on that and educate, everything they left for us, we're building on it to make it better and better, to be there to help people just like they did at no cost.
Fantastic. Now joining us also from the Warren Society, a guest that we recognize from being on the show recently. He's back with us tonight, Joe Franke. Joe, thanks for being here.
Thanks, Dave, for having me. It's a pleasure to be back.
Yeah. All of a sudden, he's the most quiet of the group. Are you sure he's not part of the whispering winds of the paranormal? Joe, remind people a little bit about your background as well.
Well, again, my name is Joe Franke. I'm a founder of the Warren Society. I'm also a co-founder of Wardruna and a lay member of the Holy Sword Apostolate. So kind of just a thread in this interwoven tapestry of the three pillars. I've been involved in paranormal research since I was a teenager. So it's about 40 years ago. I joined the Warren team, the Warren family, and studied directly under Ed and Lorraine Warren for many years. I also had a group myself called the Connecticut Paranormal Research Society. I founded back in 1993. It's still a viable group, but it's pretty much a group of one, myself, and I do have a couple other team members, so I should correct that. But, I've been trying to now, as I'm an elder, educate the public on the dangers and misconceptions of demonology and paranormal research. It's not all fun and games, and it can be very dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. So, I, along with my colleagues here, have devoted our lives to helping others in need and those that may be afflicted by paranormal disturbances or demonic influences, as Tom just mentioned. And try to educate people so that, if they want to do this work, that they can go into it, knowing, a little bit about what they're doing instead of just walking blindly into it and, challenging things that can, be very troublesome to them, and getting themselves, in a situation. So.
Right. And in our recent conversation, In our recent conversation with one another, we talked about those dangers. We talked about the blindness that people walk into because whether they think it's just cool because I'm not going up against ghosts, I'm going up against the demonic realm because they've seen all the Exorcist movies and they have the holy super soaker that they purchased online. There's a lot of misconception of what they're actually doing, what they're actually facing up against. And in your opinion, Joe, how many ill-prepared investigators are there out there? If I were to say there was 1 million investigators nationwide, how many of them do you think are truly ill-prepared?
I would say, on the safe side, a very large percentage of that, in my humble opinion. It just seems like these days anyone with a computer and a camera is a Ghostbuster. And, there's a lot of thrill seekers out there, but there's a lot of good people that want to do the work. I just implore them to educate themselves on the proper way of doing it, because I do private investigations, I do home investigations. I'm not a big public investigations guy. I'll do it for charity, I'll do it for fun, but when we're going into people's homes, now you're messing with people's lives and real emotions. And, they're looking at you as the expert. You better know what you're doing. You better, know what you're telling them and the advice that you're giving them. Otherwise, you can make the situation worse. And unfortunately, I've gotten a lot of cases just like that where I've been contacted by a homeowner or the group of themselves and said, "Hey, Joe, we're in over our head. There is something here. We're not sure exactly what it is. May not be demonic, but it's something that we're not prepared to deal with. We just don't have that knowledge base." So most of these teams out there, the only source of education really up to now is television. And, that's not educational. That's for entertainment.
Really? I mean, I did watch every episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Well, maybe I'll make an exception in that case.
Okay, good. Well, I don't want to brag, but I saw Supernatural as well. So, Father Ken, let me kind of throw to you real quickly. It's been interesting over just the 19 years I've been doing paranormal radio, listening to the uptick in, especially like in the Roman Catholic ilk. They seem to have been very reticent to have exorcists out there, right? There was maybe a handful in the world. And as this thing progressed and I started in 2006, probably by 2009, 2010, I was talking about how the Vatican was training people like crazy in exorcisms and protection. So many people turn to the church and feel that they're not taken seriously, or that the leadership is not prepared to truly help when it comes to elements of the supernatural and paranormal. Is that a fair assessment for the most part?
Well, I can't speak on behalf indirectly for the Catholic Church, but what I can say is that there are definitely stringent requirements, and those requirements have to be met. Thinking with the church, either with the Holy Orthodox Church and the Holy Catholic Church, there's already a set theological framework. And so that framework is been done and tested for thousands of years. And so what I often find is that most people are reluctant to not want to listen to the church, which I would suppose, and I would ask why. I mean, if you're coming to the church for help, then obviously the opinion is you should take the advice. Also, too, in the sense where I have friends that are Roman Catholic priests, and they're not exorcists. They don't want to be exorcists. Within the Holy Catholic Church, that's a separate vocation, and they go to exorcism school, that sort of thing. Within Orthodoxy, it's ingrained in us. So there isn't any special type of training in that sense, because we have the gift and the anointment of God, and our prayers are strong. Like Orthodoxy is like metal when it comes to Christianity, and it's all about spiritual prayer. It's about living a life of being devout to the Holy Spirit in Christ. So there's some differences there, but we have had individuals come up to us and say, "Hey, the church told us to do this, or they're not taking us seriously." And my opinion, what I tell them to do is go back to your local priest. If they're telling you to do something, chances are we're going to do the same exact thing. So we'll never step on the church's toes, because we have to be in unison. Because we believe that God and the Holy Spirit works among the church. And so we'll never say, no, don't do this, come and do it my way.
Kathy, being an active investigator for all these years and somebody who's also a healer and believes in trying to get answers, why do you think it's so important right now for investigators, kind of the spiritual side of things, the religious side of things, for them all to come together and start to work in a more, I guess, perfect concert dealing with the paranormal?
Well, I think it's really important right now because the paranormal field has been very active. And just as you were saying, there's some people out there that aren't as knowledgeable with the proper ways of investigating and things like that. And as Joe had alluded to, sometimes they open up doors that they shouldn't, and it creates issues. So as a result of the everybody being interested in investigating and everything, I think that it's opened up a lot in this world where it's come to a point where there has to be some type of movement. And the movement is right here, right now, and it's us. And that movement, it's coming together. As Stacia knows, people are coming into her life at the right time with the right skills and the right knowledge and everything. And I've been sitting back and watching this evolve, and I can see where it's headed. And I know that everything that is happening right now is for the good of the world, of the people, of the spirit world, of everything. We all have our own beliefs. I'll be honest, I'm not a religious person. I was raised with religion, but I am a very spiritual person. And as you said, Dave, I am also a healer. So the paranormal side of it is not why I am here. I'm leaving that for the others that are part of the group, even though I do it. That's not my expertise. That's my husband's expertise, but it's not my expertise. The people that are on this panel right now are the ones that are going to be heading that and moving along with it. My role in all of this is going to be more of the spiritual healing energy type of work, because I do have a lot of experience. As you know, Dave, you've seen me at work. And I think that I have a lot of credibility with what I do, because when I do things, it's not me doing it. It is a higher power, and the higher power can be whomever you choose it to be. The higher power is working through me to be able to help people, and that's what I like to do. I like to help people. So, and when Stacia first approached me on this, and she talked about the healing process and everything, there's a need out there. We have demons in the world, definitely. There are demons, but to me, I think the majority of the demons are those that are trauma related.
Right.
They're internal demons. They're things that need work, and that's where we're all going to work together to make sure that people that have been traumatized in one way or another, whether it be a real demon, which I fortunately have not come across, whether it be a real demon or internal trauma or something like that, we have the team to handle it. We know the people on our team that we can say, you know what, I'm a healer, but what you really need is you need Father Ken. You need to go to Father Ken, or a psychiatrist, or, maybe the person just has medical issues that they need, like an herbal alchemist or something like that. We will be able to refer people. None of us here are egos where I can do it all. I'm going to do it all. No, I have I have what I like to do. Stacia has what she has to do. Joe, Tom, Father Ken, we all have our role, and we stay in our lanes, actually, but we help one another through the process. That was a long answer.
I like it though. It was comprehensive. Thomas, let me ask you this: being a part of the Warren Society, right? We're always talking in this field about this paranormal unity coming together so that we can investigate, we can give answers for the dead and for the living. But also being a part of the paranormal field, I think it's pretty safe to say this paranormal unity does not really exist, not in any cohesive way. And obviously you're trying to make steps to start to bind these things and bring people together. But, you know, here you've got the Warrens are constantly under fire. You know, as part of the Holzer Files TV show, Dr. Hans Holzer under fire. Anybody that made a name for themselves in this field find themselves under fire regarding this. So, and even in cases, you know, the Warrens and Hans Holzer didn't get along particularly well. Why do you think that there are so many egos in this field where there are no absolutes?
That is such a great question. It's the things I contemplate myself on a daily basis. I'm a simple person, just like you said. I help the living and I help the dead. Now, being part of the Warren Society, we have to look at it this way. All of us here talking right now, if it wasn't for Ed and Lorraine Warren, none of us would be talking right now, or Hans Holzer. Mm-hmm. So they made the building blocks for us, whether you agree with them or disagree with them. We are here and we are progressing forward because of that, whether you agree or disagree. All right. That's what I'm saying. Agree or disagree and still have this team together. Mm-hmm. We sit at the largest table and we discuss ideas. We throw them back and forth. Yes, we're from a lot of different backgrounds, but we all have the same thing in common. We want to help our clients and we want to help the spirit. Simple as that. People complicate this so much because, like you said, the paranormal or anything we're looking at right now, supernatural, you're never 100% right or wrong about it. It comes in with experience. It comes in with asking the questions. It comes in with education. It comes in with that experience. You know, we have a lot of experience. Am I better than anybody else? No. The thing is I learned a long time ago as a shaman, if you have ego, you'll be too far away from spirit. If I'm to help people and have my guides work through me, I have to let ego go and be there to help the living and the dead. Just like with Father Ken, the Holy Sword, we have to let spirit come through that way. Just with the Warren Society, where we learn the building blocks with Wardruna, knowing that when something comes through and I feel it and they need something else, we have people to go to. And we all agree with each other. And, you know, we disagree times too, but we know there's a love of team. And we want to spread that to everybody else to know that, hey, we could talk and not have that ego and sit at the table and break bread and help the living and the dead. That's what it's all about. All this other stuff, it's nice, but that's what it comes down to at the end of the day.
Yes, Father Ken.
Ego is the result in lack of humility. And that's what I see. There isn't enough humility. Everyone thinks that they know something. They'll Google everything. They'll read a few books. They'll go on a couple of investigations, or they'll try to, you know, disprove certain things. And so they, you know, it's a cattywampus attempt at a lack of humility.
Our guests tonight are here with us. We're discussing the 3 pillars. This is the opportunity to bring people together in a way that has not truly been done, but has been aimed for. Maybe now we start to build that roadmap together so that we can understand why it's important to bring all of the different concepts of research and spirituality and investigation and healing all together to understand what is truly going on with the spiritual realm. And maybe once we start healing the dead, the living will start feeling better as well. We're going to take a very quick break. We will come back. We've got more to discuss. We'll do that here next on the Paranormal 60.
A vampire in Rhode Island?
A UFO crash in Connecticut?
A flying moose in Maine?
A haunted bridge that calls your name?
New England is weird.
Really weird.
Wicked Strange by Jeff Belanger and Frank Grace is your ticket to the bizarre. Ghosts, monsters, urban legends, and roadside oddities you won't believe until you see them.
So pre-order now on Amazon. It drops September 2nd.
Assuming the Black Dog of West Peak doesn't get you first.
Let's get strange.
Wicked Strange. Pre-order your copy now on Amazon.
Welcome back to the program. I'm Dave Schrader. Tonight, We are looking at a new dawn for the paranormal. Many people have come and gone before, and I'm reminded of the Skull experiment, which is one of my favorite stories of people coming together from different modalities, different ways of looking at research. And as they start to make amazing breakthroughs, they break apart, right? Almost like a good rock band, right? The more that the light is shown on them for the individual efforts they're putting forward, they start to forget about the greater service and start worrying more about what we've been discussing, the ego. It affects us all. I'm not holding anybody above or below anyone else in this field. It happens. And I have held myself in check over 19 years. There have been times when I'm a firm believer, boom, boom, boom. And I will tell you, and I've said this at many conferences, I don't believe that orbs are ghosts, but I can't dismiss all of them summarily, because there are times that I see things that coincide with other factors taking place that I can't just dismiss it. So I will tell you, most times I am not leaning into that, because I know how easily repeatable they are, and you can replicate them by, dust and moisture and bugs and the outside of where you're at when this is taking place. And it's not always the most popular answer in the room, but I would rather give you my insight and explain I could be wrong. Maybe what you should do is take this over to Joe Franke. He might have a different perspective on this. And Joe listening, hearing, and then saying, well, I believe that it could be this, but maybe you want to go talk to Stacia, and Stacia might have another input on what it is that we're dealing with and what these energies mean and what they could be. Maybe those orbs aren't necessarily us in a non-physical form, but they are energy that is present when us is around. Joe, let me go back to you again. Being involved in the founder of the Warren Society, doing this, obviously you're stepping into very big shoes. You're trying to keep something moving behind two of the most world famous paranormal investigators on the planet, and certainly helped by the many books and movies and documentaries that have been put out there about that. What do you think are some of the most common mistakes that we're seeing in the previous attempts of trying to create this unity in our field and finding a way to cohesively work together?
Well, one of the biggest hurdles is, as we've been discussing, egos. For me, this has always been a vocation. It's not an occupation. And even after I've been doing this 40 years, I'm still learning. Every day I'm learning. I'm learning from my colleagues here. I'm learning from, the general public. But you have to have an open mind. Recently I've been taking a lot of heat lately from people that don't like the Warrens. They don't care for the Warrens. They criticize the Warrens and their work. And you're certainly, are free to do that. Everyone is, we're all individuals. I mean, and we all have different ideas and ideals and ways of doing things, and that's fine. But we should be able to respect others' ideals. What I say to the people that I would call Warren haters is like, look, have you ever met the people? I grew up with these people. They were wonderful people. Aside from the paranormal aspect of it, they were wonderful, God-fearing people. And they were like grandparents to me. And it hurts me very much to hear all this hatred about them. And it's like, you're entitled to your opinion, but make it an informed opinion. Have an open mind about this. I've heard people like, I don't believe in ghosts. I don't believe in demons. Well, if you have such a closed mind, then how can you debunk anything? The word paranormal basically means that which, is above and beyond the scientific explanation. That's where faith comes in. You have to have faith in something. Not everything can be proven. Not everything is black and white. But if you come out and say, I don't believe in ghosts or demons are fake and you're a liar, and that just promotes hatred. And until we can get beyond that, and that's, my mission now is just try to educate people on what I know. Do I know everything? Absolutely not. I don't. But after 40 years, I know a little bit, and I know a little about a lot, and I want to share my knowledge to those who will listen. I still actively work on cases when I'm needed. But I want to make sure I not only educate the public during my, through my lecture series, I want to educate the families that we deal with. Always look for a natural explanation for what you may be experiencing. That scratching in the walls could be, squirrels or raccoons or mice.
Right. And that's a tough part of this, Joe, isn't it? Because so many people that are calling themselves investigators just need to have paranormal experience and they believe everything's a ghost. And I don't mean that dismissively, but you can't be helpful if everything you encounter without, and there is having faith, but then there's also not having blind faith, not just believing in anything because this is what you want it to be. And I think that's a trap a lot of people fall into, Joe.
Right. Well, they go out there with their equipment and they capture something, and immediately it's something paranormal. And I say, well, wait a minute. Have you even tried to explain what it is naturally? But it's because they want it to be, because they want to upload it to their YouTube channel or their social media channel. And that's why I said they're thrill seekers, they're entertainers. And remember, I'll quote Tom here. Tom taught me something I'll never forget. He's like, are you helping somebody? What are you doing to help people? You look at all these YouTube channels and stuff out there, and these debunkers and people fighting back and forth and lawsuits and stuff, defamation suits. It's insane, and sometimes I get dragged into it when I don't want to, because I'm trying to defend the name of the people that I knew. I can speak intelligently of the character of the people that I knew and that trained me and I learned a lot from. Did I agree with everything? No, absolutely not. Now I'm older and hopefully wiser. I've got my own concepts and theories and ideas on things. Orbs, you mentioned earlier, orbs, I believe, can be a form of energy, but that doesn't necessarily mean there's a ghost sitting next to you because a ball of light flew past you. You got to really research that. I just think that it's, it may not be illegal to do some of the things they're doing, but it's certainly, in my opinion, immoral. To tell a family that's already frightened that maybe having some experiences they can't explain, you have a portal to hell in your home. Or recently a friend and colleague told me that she noticed a portal in an old 300-year-old home in the basement. And I'm like, well, if there's a portal there, and you've got people that you're charging to come investigate and you don't know what you're doing, you could cause a lot of problems.
Yeah.
For the place and for yourself, but to them it's fun. And I just don't agree with that. And people may dislike me for that, and I'm sorry, but I'm entitled to my opinion as everyone else.
And it's a good point. I've told people that for many years, that if you ask yourself why you're fascinated with the paranormal, is it to get a cheap thrill and be frightened? Then stick with haunted houses, and I don't mean real. I mean the entertainment ones. Stick with horror movies and scary roller coasters. You'll get that same thrill. But if you're doing it just to prove to yourself, and you're not going in to give answers, you're not going in to try to help the living or the dead, then this is not the right hobby for you to be a part of. Father Ken, I know you had a point you wanted to bring up. Please go ahead.
Yes, I wanted to say that I agree with Joe Franke 1000%. Within this field, you have to give yourself, to not deny yourself every day. True investigators, this is a vocation, this is a calling. And as Joe Franke said, there are many dangers. Briefly, a few years ago, Joe and I, when we were part of another organization, we were called by a family for help. This family had a son who was developmentally disabled, 18, 19 years old, dealing with triple schizophrenia, that sort of thing. And reported that he was seeing things. And so the family knew that he had this diagnosis, but to give him comfort, they called a team. Just to find out. So they had the team come by. The team showed up. They charged them $5,000 to do an investigation. They had this intuitive who took a test online the week before and went into the house and told the family and this person with a diagnosable mental illness that he had 72,000 legions of demons. Circle back a few weeks later, we meet with the family. We're trying to de-escalate because they're already at that edge. And so we're talking to the family. We interviewed them for about an hour. We're like, okay, you know what? We're good to go. We don't want to tire you. We don't want to bring up any feelings and emotions. We'll reconvene next week. A few weeks goes by, actually a month goes by. The family contacts us and say, hey, Father Ken, how are you? I go, hey, how are you doing? I hope everything is well. Father Ken, we can't work with you guys. And I go, why? Did we do something wrong? No. Unfortunately, our son took his own life, left a suicide note stating that I am taking my life because I have 72,000 legions of demons because intuitive psychic told me. And to this day, that case bothers me. And to this day, it's one of those things that it hurt me profoundly. And that's why I'm really passionate about what I do. Just like Joe said, I get slandered, I get defamed all the time. I get compared to other people. Oh, you're not Vatican. No, I'm an Orthodox Christian, but I stand firm and I served my country, and there's nothing you can say about it. I stand for my convictions. And that's one thing we're trying to change among the 3 pillars. We provide you with the resources necessary. We'll give you compassion. We'll give you empathy. But more importantly, we'll be there for you in the darkest hour. At least I will be. I know everyone else on this panel will be.
Yeah. Stacia, I know you were signaling you'd like to add to this. Please go ahead.
I want to kind of explain how we came together and how we work together as a unit. I like I says, I started Wardruna with a vision. Kathy is somebody that I approached. Her and I just instantly connected. We're both shamans. We're both healers. I leave the healing to her. She calls me in if she needs assistance. I like to speak more to, the ancestors. Within this journey, I then stumbled across, Thomas, who is also a shaman, and I really believe my twin in a past life. And we went and we worked on a case together, and that's where I met Joe Franke. And with this case, before I even got there, I could astral project myself down in, and I could tell everybody the color of the walls, etc., what was going on. And then I met Joe Franke at the door. And, we started working this case together, and the group of us just blended very nice together. We had therapists there. I'm picking out mental health problems. I'm picking out trauma problems. Then we're also, this case actually does have a demonic force there. We also were dealing with spirits. And that's when we kind of came together and said, wait a second, there was a need for, Joe to have, to replace Lorraine. That is where Tom and I came in, and we kind of stepped into the Warren Society and took the lead on, moving forward with what Lorena Warren did. And Joe is doing what Ed did. And then we have Father Ken and Father Bob, who then also put us on the Council of 5. Within that council, I fell down, the rabbit hole of the occult a long time ago. Even though my family was Orthodox and Byzantine and Lutheran, very strict values, it was something that, I started studying. So with that, I give them the knowledge of what sometimes people practice and they shouldn't practice, and what gets them in trouble. So that's how we kind of blended together, and we all became enmeshed with each other and how we help each other. We work on cases together. Joe will call me and say, I have a case. And I just say, hold on, I'll tell you what I get. I come back and I can tell him the age of children and all this and what's going on. And then Tom and I then proceed, and we can have one of the fathers with us. We start talking to these people. We start weeding out, is there an attachment? Is it abuse? Is it a mental illness? And from there, we put everybody in the right spot. Like I said, not everything is that big, scary demon. Usually it is the trauma. And, part of it, I myself am a huge skeptic. We have in Wardruna, we have a whole department headed up by Kathy's husband, Greg, who teaches people how to be skeptics, how to roll things out, because not every bump in the night, not every scratch is something. And people start looking for it, and they start opening these things up. And what you're saying about ego, there is so much ego in this field. I always say, who are we going to argue? There's an apparition in the corner. Who are we going to argue with? That's not what this is about. It's honestly about healing past trauma. That's what the ancestors want. And they want us to be healthy to move forward. And that's how the 3 of us all blended together.
Kathy, let me ask you this. We talked about energy. We talked about, orbs being, maybe not necessarily the essence of who we are, but an energy form that exists, whether there is human soul there or not. For people that are skeptics, I think it's interesting that energy obviously survives the physical. There is a really great bunch of work done with something called Carillion photography, where you can actually see photographs of leaves, and then they will cut or tear off a piece of the leaf, place the leaf back down, and take a photograph, and you'll see the leaf, and then you'll see an energetic signature of the piece that's missing, as though even though you've physically removed the meat, the soul still remains, that there is still an energetic signature that proves that there is an energy that extends beyond the physical form. Do you believe that that's what ghosts are, is that they are this energy that is left over for part of, maybe not even a fully formed version of who we are, but an energy that does remain?
I think part of that is true, yes. I think that there's a couple of different forms of ghosts, if that's what you want to call them. You have your intelligent hauntings, and then you have your residual hauntings. You're talking about the energy that is left over. That I consider to be a residual haunting, because that's like a timestamp of energy that had happened or taken place during some time during someone's life, and it's just playing over and over and over on that certain day at that certain time.
But can you heal that element, knowing that that's not necessarily an intelligent haunting or spirit? It's a scar. Is there a spiritual bacitracin we can rub on it to make it vanish?
I don't believe there's a spiritual bacitracin you can rub on it. No. But I do think that you can change the energy around it. Now, as far as changing the residual energies, I think you're better off trying to change the energy around it.
Do you think once you change that energy, then that breaks away the trauma so that energy can free flow?
Let's look at it this way. Okay, let's just say you walk into a house and mom and dad have been fighting, and you feel that energy, and that energy is time stamped, and you're just like, oh shit, sorry, father. I don't want to be around here. I feel this energy. It's really hateful and everything. But you switch it and you bring in happiness and you change that energy, that hatred, that anger that was left there dissipates. Does that make sense?
Sure. Yeah, no,
Okay.
it completely makes sense.
Yeah,
I need to take another quick break. We'll come back. I do want to talk about one more possibly dangerous element to what we do in this field, one that a lot of people don't attribute necessarily to the supernatural. And I'd like your guys' input, each one of you, and we'll kind of round robin this when we come back, because we are talking about giving insights, educating people, taking it the step further. But I want them to know that there's more to it than just maybe having a ghost follow you home, or having a ghost at your house, or playing with divination tools that might open you up to negative influence. Let's talk about the real dangers, and we'll do that when we return. And during the break, I will have you all notice that the 4 men have not cursed, but the 2 young ladies that are part of this panel are the first to drop the S-bombs. So we'll have them gargle with holy water, and we'll do that right after this.
Oh, are you reading me? Come in. Hello? Greetings from the shadow, and welcome to Shadowzine. My name is Jeff Belanger. I'm an author, podcaster, and explorer of the unexplained. For 30 years, I've been investigating the paranormal, UFOs, monsters, and things that bump in the night. Lately, you may have noticed how major TV networks and even social media networks have been pushing our favorite subject back into the shadows. I say good. That's why I launched Shadowzine, a monthly underground publication that covers your favorite topics in depth by some of the leading writers and researchers out there. If you're looking for 30-second TikTok clips, go somewhere else. If you're ready for a deeper dive, put down your phone and pick up Shadowzine. You can't find it in stores. This is old school print. Head to shadowzine.com and be part of the underground revolution. That's shadowzine.com, and I'll see you in the shadow.
And if you are as enthralled by conversations like we're having this evening, then I encourage you, come out and join us this weekend at ParaPsyCon. It is in Mansfield, Ohio, at the old Ohio State Reformatory, Mansfield Reformatory, May 16th through the 18th. There will be a lot of spirited discussions and people there that can answer these questions, that will take you seriously, give you empathy, love, and understanding, and help you to try to understand the things that fascinate you and frighten you. Again, you can get more information about that at darknessevents.com. Darknessevents.com. You'll find out where all the places are I'm going to be this year, and come on out, meet with me, meet with all the other great speakers that'll be a part of this. For the next part of our conversation, I want to take this into a slightly unusual place, one that I think a lot of us talk about in the background, but don't necessarily face or want to admit to. And I will start here with Joe Franke as we begin this part, and I'll slowly bring each guest back on board as we do this. But Joe, having a connection to the Warrens, I was lucky enough that early in my career, I was able to interview Lorraine while Ed was still alive. He was incapacitated. She was caretaking. He was in the bedroom. She had to keep an ear on him during the interview in case he needed her. It seems as though, and correct me if I'm wrong, that Lorraine believed that it was the work that Ed had done in the paranormal field that helped to physically weaken him to the point that his health failed. There are many people in this field, myself included, who have been involved in this field for 19 years and have had strange health phenomena, things that still we're not getting answers for. There are friends of ours like Andrea Perrin, the oldest daughter from the Conjuring House, which our prayers continue to go out for, who's dealing with stage 4 metastatic cancer. Our friend Chris Fleming, the psychic medium, who came on with a very aggressive form of bone cancer, and through the will of God and the love of all of the people that have been praying for him, has reversed that fortune. He is on the climb and coming back into health. Cancer has gone, but his immunity still stays low. What is your concept of this? Do we put ourselves in physical or mortal danger by engaging in an active way in paranormal investigating? Does it take a physical toll aside from the emotional and spiritual?
The short answer, absolutely. I firmly believe that. I know what Ed went through. I know, when he suffered his heart attacks, one of them was like right after an exorcism that he attended. I personally, not a lot of people know this, but I've got some health, adverse health effect from this. I've got a bad heart and I've got a bad liver. And, can I say with absolute certainty that it has to do with the work that I'm doing? No. Uh, and I could never prove that, but I've had these discussions with my doctors, who are believers in the work that I do, and I'm an open book, and I tell all my doctors what I do and what I've done, and I've been physically attacked by forces, in various cases I've worked on over the last 40 years, and I've got to be smart about it. We've got a case outside of Philadelphia that we're working presently, and I believe it's a case of demonic oppression. Things are quiet right now, so we're not going to kick the hornet's nest. However, when it does come time to go to this residence, I'm going to have to be very careful. My wife and my doctors have me on a short leash. If I'm not well enough, and you need to be strong physically, spiritually, and emotionally, but physically and spiritually especially, for this work, you need to prepare. You can't just load up the car and head out.
Right.
You have to, and Father Ken can comment on this probably better than I can, but spiritually, you have to prepare yourself for warfare. I remember Ed Warren said to me one time, I'll never forget this. He says, Joe, the devil knows who we are, and he hates us. Not only for the fact that we're made in God's image, but because we're willing to stand up to him and spit in his eye and say, not today, not on my watch.
Right.
Someone has to do this work, which is why when I try to educate people, I'm like, this can take a toll on you. This can attach to you when you're messing with forms of divination. The Ouija board. Yeah, it's a board game, but it's the context that you use. It's the intention behind it. It's the free will that you use to invite these things in. You open these doors. So absolutely, my answer is yes. I believe it's affected my health. I'm trying really hard to do what I'm told and follow an exercise regimen and eating right and all that stuff. But in the end, I don't have a big S spray painted on my chest. I'm just a human being, and I have to be careful. But is it going to dissuade me from stopping to do the work? Absolutely not. I'm going to continue to do the work as long as God will allow me to do that. But I've got to be smart about it.
Let's go to Father Ken Torres. Father Ken, I know quite a few people that have worked, from Ed and Lorraine to Adam Bly, John Zaffis, and Father Andrew Calder, who lost his life, but 13, 14 years ago. Many other clergy who have entered the field to help people dealing with demonic presence, with dark, malevolent forces. And many of them have said that they've even avoided relationships because you may be guarded, but sometimes the evil will come after the things you love. So is there a real danger in that?
Yes, Dave, there is an inherent danger in what we do. Not to get too personal, but with the casework that I've done, it's also affected, my marriage. In Holy Orthodoxy, we are to be and have children, and so you always have to be mindful of that as well. We often tell people you need to be careful that you don't dabble into the things, but we forget advice. As investigators, we are also dabbling into this spiritual realm. We are opening ourselves up to different doors. And I've suffered some really bad things in the past. Doing this work, my stomach got paralyzed and I had to get stomach surgery. In 1 year, I had the worst pain ever in my stomach. The doctors couldn't figure it out. And they said, well, you're going to need a gastric pacemaker. We don't know why. We know you're diabetic. It could be the medications, but we just can't figure it out. I mean, other things have happened as well. As a veteran, having gone through trauma and helping other people, these things can affect you. And yes, it is very dangerous. It's a vocation. It's about being in a state of grace. It's about being prepared. It's also about having emotional intelligence and thinking deep in the next steps that you're going to take. Because if you're not careful, this will eat you up completely and it will devour you to the point where you can lose your sanity, you can lose your mind, and you can lose everything.
Yeah.
Thank you. And thank you again for your service, not only in the religious realm of helping people, but also for your military career and service in that as well, Father Ken.
Oh, thank you.
Stacia, I don't know how comfortable you would feel. I know you and I had a conversation off air talking about health issues, talking about how things affect people. You also know when it's time to encourage people to speak to psychologists and psychiatrists to mental health evaluation when they think they're dealing with the paranormal. What is your feel on this? Can dealing in this realm break us mentally?
Oh, absolutely it can. I have gone in. Personally, I've gone in and I've seen things that I don't want to see. And being a shaman, I see the trauma, and there are times I have laid in bed and I've cried. And I've told my husband, I'm like, I've had to call the priest, and I'm like, I need to talk because some of the stuff that I have seen, it's hard. It really, really is hard. And I have a therapist, I have my husband, I have the priest, and I have Kathy, I have Joe, I have Thomas as a support because some of the stuff that I see is heartbreaking. And yeah, it can break you down. Yeah, we talked, off screen. It does affect your health. Like Joe, my doctors do know what I do. The one thing that happens when I go into cases is all of my electrolytes will just get flushed out of my body for no reason. They can't figure it out. And thank God my doctors, I'll send a text. I have their phone number, call in blood work. And, it has affected my heart. I have, a pacemaker. It really does take a toll. But as on the psyche, yeah, it can really, really affect you. Being an empath, being a shaman, it's hard when I walk past somebody. I know who's being beat. I know who's being sexually abused. I go in and I talk to the ancestors. They tell me the trauma and they tell me what they're sorry for. And I see broken people. I just thank God that I have been given an amazing team to work with to help heal these people. But it does affect you. Yes.
Kathy, let's jump back in then and take this into another direction. As somebody who's a healer and works in energy and helping, do we draw the energy of spirits that maybe, if we have certain addiction problems, certain, chemical dependencies, Do you believe that we might draw spirits that passed from those issues or were addicted personalities in life? Do you think that we draw them and that starts to work on our soul and our energy as a Cancer as well?
I do believe that that happens. Yes, Dave. Those are my what I call them is attachments. And as a healer, I do see that from time to time, and I of course have to be very careful of that as well, because I am completely open to those types of things. And being in the paranormal field and everything, you come across a lot of different types of energies and things that can attach to you. Um, and one of the things that I can say is that the people that I do work on, the people that I am doing healing sessions on and everything, that affects them as well. Let's just say somebody's living in a house that's very, very haunted, and they're going to be affected by that. They may get attachments that way and so forth, and that's where the healing process, as far as the energy healing and everything, will come in. And that's why I do it, is to help people, to get rid of these demons. No other word, demons.
And not necessarily physical horn-bearing demons, but rather
No,
the scars that we carry forward in life from tragedies that have either touched
absolutely.
us or we have witnessed, correct?
Mhm.
Familiar demons.
Absolutely. Yeah, familiar demons. And I had just worked on somebody, when you're talking about uh, getting physical ailments and things like that. They're not just recently, like last week, I worked on somebody that had a very serious attachment, and it affected me.
Mhm.
After the healing, it affected me, but I've also been trained. That's the whole thing. This is the key for anybody that wants to get involved in the paranormal. I have been trained how to deal with those situations and how to address them properly. And that's one of the things that we're all about too, is teaching people how to address these properly so that it doesn't deteriorate us,
Mhm.
so it doesn't break us down, that it doesn't open the door for all these demons.
Thomas, as we've been talking tonight about coming together, about re-examining the things we think we know about the paranormal, measuring them up against the things that we do know about the paranormal, realizing the effect that it has not only on the dead, but on the living that are left behind, and those that may not even realize that they're drawing this type of attention or energies to them. People want to help. People have that natural inherent desire, that empathy, most of us, right? How do we discern if this is a calling for us? How do we discern if, aside from just being a caring person, empath seems to be the current trigger word or key word for people? Everybody I know is now an empath. I think we're all empathetic, but I don't know if we're truly empaths. What do we do though to know that this is something that we really have to step up into, not fall into?
It's a journey. As you journey down the road, it keeps taking you down the certain road. It becomes more and more familiar to you.
Mhm.
That road becomes your calling. It calls out to you. You dream about it. You meet certain people. There's no such thing as a coincidence. There are spirit guides guiding you to this work. They're putting people in your life that have that familiarity too, especially with the three pillars. But that's what it is. Yeah, you're saying everybody out there is an empath. There's more that goes into it. Um, being empathetic. Yeah, a lot of people could be empathetic, but it's picking up on those energies. And I tell a lot of people that with those energies, we have three things that are most important to us as human beings. We have our spiritual, we have our mental, and we have our physical. If one of those things is off, they're all off. If you're spiritually and mentally off, you're going to have physical problems. That's what it goes into. So we have to make sure that those three things are working together in unison. Just like the three pillars, we have our three things. We have our spiritual, we have our mental, and we have our physical. we have to concentrate on those. You know, everything has energy, everything has frequency. That's why we're able to pick up things through frequency. But that's the education that we have to give to people, you know, to maintain that path. We're all on a different journey. We all come into contact with each other and we learn. It is our own personal journey. Any paranormal stuff that happens to us, it happens to us personally. We get that evidence and we press on and we use that knowledge to help others to make sure that they're good spiritually, mentally, and physically. That's what I do as a shaman. I try and keep it simple. And just because it's for the living, it's also for the dead. There are dead that don't know they may have passed. You know, with my spirit guides, and a lot of these guys here have witnessed through ITC device, they'll call my name. And that's when I know that they need help. You know, I know some spirits don't want to pass along, they're happy. But when I hear my name, I know I need to go to work and I need to consult. I do have a background in psychology. I worked as a CO down in the state of Florida. I was a crisis negotiator. So I learned these things on how to profile and how to look at things in a different way, and really to get down psychologically, which is very important to know what's mentally going on. Because the thing is what we all do, even with these cases, you know, we have to discern what's going on. And I'm going to tell a lot of the people out there, the most important thing, before you investigate, make sure you do your due diligence. And I always tell people the last resort is an investigation.
Mm-hmm.
So if you could get all the answers beforehand, you're helping the people more and you're educating more, you're empowering them more. That way they stay on that path and they learn to bring back that power of their spirituality. Their mentality comes back. They have that power. They lose that fear. And then also that helps them physically. So I've seen people with back problems, and after we helped heal the spiritual and the mental side, that physical stuff went away. That's what healing's all about.
Powerful. Thomas Patrick Gormley, thank you so much. Tell people a little bit more about where they can connect with you if they have more questions or would like to learn more.
Well, you know, the three pillars there. I am also with an events group called The Shaman and the Showman with my partner, Charles Rosenay. We do a lot of events like Kathy's doing. We do them in Connecticut, up in Salem, Mass. We do events where we bring people in to learn how to investigate. So it's a teaching. It's not just come along, have your equipment, and go out, have some fun. We want to teach people, you know, what we're talking about today to try and help some of the people new to it or some people that have been around. So that's important. But I'm on Facebook, Thomas Patrick Gormley, Instagram, TikTok, all that. I'm the Archangel of the Paranormal. Just with our group here, Wardruna, the Warren Society, the Holy Sword Apostolate. We're all together as a big group and we all intertwine, and it's amazing.
Thank you so much for being a part of the show with us tonight, Thomas. We appreciate it. Father Ken Torres, a lot of questions out there. A lot of people confused by the concept of religion and spirituality. A lot of people that feel like, well, but I grew up Jewish. I grew up Muslim. I grew up Buddhist. I grew up Lutheran.
Right.
Who do I go to for help? Can I go to Father Ken Torres, or do I have to go within my own upbringing to get spiritual guidance?
So the first thing I would always say, go to your local imam, go to your local rabbi, go to your local priest first. And if they can help you, you can come to myself and Father Bob. What I was going to say is the work that we do has to be tangible, you know, and that's what we offer. The big cop-out that I see is when someone says, hey, you know, I'm losing my house. Oh, yeah, I'll say a prayer for you. Prayer helps, but you have to have some tangible skills. All right, I'll help you look for a place. That's the difference in what we do. So yes, come to us and we'll have tangible resources available to you and do the best that we can to help you out. But always go to your local priest, your local psychiatrist, your doctor, your chaplain. Go to those first and listen to what they have to say. And faith allows us to understand that the answer we need is not always the answer that we want.
Again, thank you for your service in all aspects of what you do, Father Ken. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Dave.
As the clock ticks down and our guests are signing off, taking just a few moments to recognize each one. Kathy, I'm looking forward to seeing you as always at ParaPsyCon this weekend, working with you and by your side, watching you work on healing people, bring them answers. and open this field to people so that they can come hear speakers, people that have had boots on the ground, mind in the game, heart, involved to try to understand these feelings. So thank you for that. And again, for people that are looking for healing, you'll be at the ParaPsyCon this weekend and you'll be offering different modalities there, correct?
I will not, because I will be running around working and managing the whole event. However, at ParaPsyCon, there are a lot of very good, credible healers, and we also have some psychic mediums. Stacia will be there, so you can go see Stacia if you're looking for a psychic medium, but we do have some healers that will be there as well. And if you're looking for me, you want to work with me, I'm at Serenity Reiki by Kathy. And you can find me on Facebook.
All right. Thank you, Kathy. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow.
Same here.
All right. We are coming into the end here. Joe Franke, the Warren Society. I know we've had a chance to have a couple of discussions recently. It's a pleasure to have you back with us tonight.
Thank you.
What's a final thought that you'd like to leave people with this evening?
Well, I just want people to know that there are people like us, not just us, but there are people that can help you. If you feel you're experiencing something otherworldly, there are people that you can speak to. We don't think you're crazy. You may not necessarily have a paranormal affliction. It could be something, mental, or something physical, or emotional. But there are people that are here to listen to you. That's what the whole three pillars is about. We all have our expertise in something. So if anybody want to reach out to me, you can, of course, get me through the Warren Society, through social media, Instagram. I'm out there, Joe Franke. My email is, jfranke@warrensociety.com. Or you can get me through, one of my colleagues, through Wardruna or through the Holy Sword.
Well,
but I just want people to know that we're here to help if you need us. Thank you.
And thank you for keeping that flame alive in the name of Ed and Lorraine Warren. And I appreciate that you say that not everything they did is something you necessarily believe in or ascribe to, but that you're going to continue to take their teachings, their learnings, and improve upon them, make them more accessible to a larger audience, and continue that journey. I think that will be the real legacy of the Warren. So thank you for doing that, Joe.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dave.
Pleasure speaking with you. Stacia, we're at the end here. You brought us together this evening, as you are doing and working with the three pillars, bringing people together to bring answers, to bring this community closer. So that I think what's been kind of an interesting boon in this is that since probably the early 2000s, since the attacks in the United States on the World Trade Center, the Pentagon, it has opened up a new consciousness of people seeking answers outside of the normal realms that they were used to going to. And there's still a lot of confusion out there. Do you think that we are now coming into a point where we need to become cohesive? This has to happen, because if we don't, we're going to lose our way.
I do. I noticed a really big jump during COVID, and people wanting answers and looking for spirituality and understanding themselves. During the lockdown, a lot of people had to face their own demons. So yes, there is this cohesiveness of understanding and growing and just wanting to have answers that were kind of hid before. They want the healing. So, what the three pillars brings is a lot of experience and a lot of answers just to get people on the right path. If anybody wants to find any of us, they can go to wardruna.net. I have everybody listed and their contact information. It's really just a big Rolodex of highly talented people to put everybody in the right path to make everybody healthy.
Well, thank you for doing that. Thank you for making it more accessible and bringing people together like this. Powerful conversation this evening, an opportunity for us to come together and learn. And tonight wasn't just about hauntings, miracles, or mysteries. It was about connection. I think you could see that and sense that with each one of our panelists. Connection between the seen and the unseen, between belief and proof, between soul, science, and spirit. Kathy and Stacia, Tom, Joe, Father Bob, who could not join us here this evening, we appreciate the efforts that you're putting forward. But they didn't just come here to share. They came here to declare a new chapter in how we face the unknown. And you, my beautiful darklings, you were here to witness the beginning. The three pillars stand, and what comes next may change everything we thought we knew. So may the darkness of this world be just a little brighter with the information we share here each week. We'll see you again here next week with our friends mediums Sarah Lemos and Scotty Davis for more of your emails and your questions to try to bring us together in that form. And if you have questions and stories you'd like to share and get insights from Scotty and Sarah, email me, dave@paranormal60.com, and we may feature you on an upcoming episode. Until then, stay safe, my friends. And remember, Dave loves you.